Stars with B. I'm B. I'm a clairvoyant psychic medium and spiritual healer, medical medium based in New Zealand. Welcome to my YouTube channel. On today's video, we're going to talk about New Age spirituality and spiritual bypassing and what exactly that is, and also the frequency and energy in these things, and some more things to be mindful of if you're delving into spirituality and using your common sense, intuition, and using your discernment with a lot of information out there. Because a lot of the videos that I put up on this channel, I wish I had when I was younger. And I probably wouldn't have experienced so much confusion and delusion with spirituality if I had had discernment and videos like these to guide me. But when I was younger, a lot of videos out there were not very helpful or practical to what I was experiencing as a highly psychic and sensitive individual, and I found a lot of information out there to be incredibly unhelpful and rather dangerous. So I wanted to make a video on New Age spirituality and spiritual bypassing, also things like psychedelics. If you're going to take things and to try and reach higher realms and why you don't really want to do that. I'm also going to talk a little bit about common sense spirituality, and a lot of the stuff that comes through to me from the spiritual realms. It talks about common sense, boundaries, discernment, and all the stuff that we actually need to navigate things from a spiritual perspective. And a lot of the times in the sort of New Age spiritual, the New Age spiritual teachings and whatnot, there's a lot of what I would call delusion and fantasy around the reality of the earthly realm. It is stuff like unicorns and rainbows and glitter, and it is almost a very teenage way of viewing spirituality and having an experience, like a life path and a life experience in the earthly realm, and that there are different energies to navigate, and that you can tune into frequencies and whatnot and sort of get tricked by what the facades of things, and that is, Okay, so with New Age spirituality, a lot of the times it is very, very ungrounded information, and maybe I should say how you can discern information. But with New Age spirituality, there tends to be a lot of channelers and speakers and healers that are very, very ungrounded and highly deluded. So that is a very, very uncultivated mind energies. And also when you haven't done the necessary grounding and practical common sense energy work with your chakras, the energy body, and the aura, and actually grounding yourself into the earthly realm, what happens is you get a bunch of channelers or speakers or healers, and I use that term very lightly because they most certainly are not healers, and they will channel this information from what I would call the astral realm, where there is a lot of density, a lot of tricks to spirits. And that's where you get, if you're very, very, very onto it spiritually, you can watch someone online and see their frequency very, very quickly and whereabouts they're sitting and if they're channeling or not. That's when you get very, very high levels of psychic discernment and whatnot. And you can, because you've honed that part of yourself to be able to see through illusion and deception. And a lot of times with New Age spiritual teachings, there is a lot of illusion and deception and trickery involved, in that there is a lot of naughty energies masquerading as light beings. And this is why I'm very, very discerning with something like if you're going to go on a retreat and take something, you want to have your wits about you, and you want to really ask yourself if it's necessary to be ingesting a substance. When I was younger, I never really got into that. I didn't feel like I needed it. And I've just seen recently with a lot of people who take a lot of things like mushrooms and psychedelics and whatnot, is that your mind can turn to mush. So if you take a lot of or ingest a lot of things regularly in the name of spirituality, you think it's helping you with your psychic ability, it's more likely than not your mind is going to turn mushy like the mushy mushrooms. And while there is a place for them for sure, but I think it is, if you are ingesting them to try and open psychic ability, that's not the way to do it. A very good psychic teacher and a very good healer will be helping you with very practical common sense ways in which you can open up your auric field in your channel and honing your psychic abilities, and a lot of that involves discernment. If you want really, really good psychic awareness and psychic energy reading skills, you need to have very, very high levels of discernment and be able to hone and use that third eye chakra to read the frequency of what's going on in front of you and be able to see it very, very clearly and very, very accurately. So that means you have to have a lot of your own delusions and inner deceptions be cleared from you in order to be able to read energy crystal clear. Okay, so, and that takes work. If you want very clean and clear, being able to see through deception very quickly, you have to also have a very strong solar plexus chakra, and that you're not going to let yourself be fooled. And a lot of the New Age spirituality is very, very airy, fairy, and a lot of it is done by females who do not know the importance of psychic boundaries and psychic discernment. And so if you're super open like that with your auric, and you're, light and love, and while I'm a big believer of the Fae and the earthly energies, you've got to work with them in a really practical way. It's usually in the New Age spirituality as people with very, very bad energetic boundaries, and they're very, very almost light-headed. There's not a lot of earthiness or practicality or groundedness in what they're saying. And when you listen to it energetically and spiritually, you can sort of hear there's really nothing in it other than gobbledygook. And you can also see this with a lot of people who talk about spirituality, but it's just a bunch of noise. And I did write a recent blog post over on lovebee.com. I'll link, my website is open now, and the eclipse, and about people just making a lot of noise, and it's not really helpful or applicable. So there seems to just be a lot of regurgitation of stuff. But yeah, so with New Age spirituality, it's very lower realm, and it hasn't yet matured itself into something substantial. So it's very tricky, it's very slippery, it's not helpful, and a lot of the times people who resonate with New Age spirituality don't really want to help themselves. They just they'll go and buy the books and the crystals and whatnot, but they don't actually want to do proper self-help or take a good hard look at their own habits and behaviors as to what's cultivating or contributing to how they're experiencing life right now. And so with something like spiritual bypassing, and I've dreamed about this, and also with medical mediumship as well, you should, if you're buying crystals in the spiritual books and whatnot in the courses, but you're not actively trying to better yourself or find out your happiness and what is actually going to make you feel good properly, and with your common sense, it's just sort of buying crystals but then doing nothing but expecting the crystals to just sort of, this will make me happier, but you're not willing to maybe stop drinking the booze, it is that type of stuff. And I dreamed of this, especially with medical mediumship. It's like taking a bunch of supplements, but you're overweight and you don't exercise and you don't get outside, and then you're wondering why you're feeling really bad. And it is, I'm just going to say a word of caution that you probably shouldn't be going to see a medical medium or a healer until you've looked at your habits and your routines and your diet. Otherwise, yeah, sometimes I do think people think healers, it's just very bizarre. But with the emotions and the feelings and the negativity and New Age spirituality, it's very like, well, if I buy this crystal, then I'm going to be fine. If I buy the citrine, my womb is going to be healed. And it is, a really good healer is not going to skirt around the fact that you're going to have to put some effort and time and longevity into feeling good and feeling happy, especially at this point in time on the earth where there is a lot of negativity coming up. There's a lot of things like racism, there's a lot of trickster energies and whatnot. You can get caught up in negativity and this I'm going to talk about this more in the Oracular Live Q&A, and what people can tune into, and you have to be very discerning about other people's frequency and your frequency, and really ask yourself what you want to cultivate in this lifetime, and that's where your boundaries and discernment come in, because you can't really help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. And when we go and interfere in other people's, so this is spiritual bypassing, New Age spirituality, when we go and interfere on other people's life paths where they don't want to help themselves, you're taking away their self-empowerment or the opportunity for them to move into a stronger solar plexus where they can decide they want to do better things with their own lives. And so a lot of the times with something like New Age spirituality and spiritual bypassing, it's taking something and wanting it to make you feel better, but then not looking, but it's almost like this blindedness. You're not wanting to actually look at why you're overweight. Is it the McDonald's and you're not? Is it the fact that you're sitting in front of the television every night, you're not reading a book instead, or it is, and you've actually got to make choices in your everyday life, especially with spirituality and your soul and your spirit, about what you're resonant with and what you want to cultivate. And you have to ask yourself, and you have to be honest, and you have to step offline, and you actually have to put a certain amount of effort into your life and your spirituality to cultivate a life that's going to suit who you are in the soul. So you've got to know yourself as a soul first. And I've seen a lot of the times with this New Age spirituality and whatnot, is that people will use spirituality, but I'm a good person, when you maybe just manipulated someone to get money from them, and it is very, it's not very, it's just a very odd thing. New Age spirituality and spiritual bypassing at large. And it's usually, I'm going to say this because I dreamt about it, but a lot of times people who fall into that New Age spirituality and spiritual bypassing, they're very, very lazy in the spirit and the soul. And it's important to see people as they are. And going to get an energy healing before looking at your health and your diet is a no-go. I would never say you cannot use an energy healing. But I'm feeling really bad, but I'm eating McDonald's. And if you go get an energy healing, it may lift you out of negativity, but you've got to sustain positive effort and positive choices to align with healthier, more vibrant life force and energy in your life and in the earthly realm in general. So a big part of New Age spirituality and spiritual bypassing is negating personal responsibility and personal free will choice. And that if you just think things, that's going to happen. But the thing is, and this is medical medium, if your mind is really negative and your energy is really negative, there's a lot more going on in there that needs to be worked out, rather than just, you can't just spiritually bypass the fact you're feeling really bad and buy a crystal. And you've actually got to, and people don't want to hear this, they don't want to hear, okay, I actually need to start exercising and maybe that will help me. And it's over long-term choices that you start feeling better. And I would say you would only want to go see a healer or a psychic or whatnot if you have got those things in line, or you know you're traumatized and you need a helping hand. Because I do see people who sit in the trauma energy and they don't want to change it. I've also dreamt of people who have had really negative things happen to them, but they actually they don't want to be healed from the disempowerment. They enjoy the victimhood. So if someone's enjoying the victimhood, then getting a healing or going to a psychic isn't going to help you, because you're enjoying being in that frequency. So it's very, very interesting working as a healer in general anyway. But there's just so much out there that is, and it's sort of like taking mushrooms and being spiritual online or whatever, but then being a dick to your flatmate or something like that. And it's like, there's this massive disconnect with spirituality in the real everyday world. And what I am really trying to do with this channel and the stuff that comes through to me is to bridge it in a practical sense so it actually helps you. Because at the moment, there's a big group of us that are trying to move out of this negativity and this ickiness. And we don't want to live, especially if you're in your 30s and that generation and the people in their 20s, they're very different to us. And we do not need to live life in this way, but you have to help yourself. And make decisions and step offline and get into nature and start aligning with what you're feeling you actually want to make and have a go off in the earthly realm right now. Because we can choose to evolve out of what's going on and choose something different because the cosmos is opening up. But, okay, do I have anything else to say on New Age spirituality and spiritual bypassing? Usually it's very lazy people that do that. And it is people that are very delusioned and disconnected, and it's usually people that maybe don't want to see things as they are. And I will tell you right now, being a very, very good psychic and healer, you need to see people and energies and places as they are without them needing to be anything else, and that is going to help you greatly with spirituality. Okay, demons and whatnot. Yes, we know of the trickster energies and New Age spirituality. Okay, come on. So I've seen channelers, and I've just taken one look at them online. I've had Jane Bailey say off that person's channel there's something really negative attached to them that is called an agent. And if you want to hear more about agents, please leave a comment because I could make a video on them. I've just had a lot of experiences with agents, and if you know about agents, you know what I'm talking about for the seasoned spiritualist. Okay, that's all I'm going to talk about on New Age spirituality and spiritual bypassing. In order to move out of that frequency and that energy, your life force has to be very, very clear and very discerning, and that's something that a lot of spiritualists don't teach is discernment, boundaries, and common sense. This will make you a better psychic. This will make you better with your spiritual energies about honing and discerning your frequency and someone else's, and you've got to be really grounded and practical. And I ground myself in every single morning into the earth energies, and then I channel it down and in, and I'll bring out some meditations onto my shop at some point for this. Very easy to use meditations to help ground your spirit and your life force in, because a lot of the times when you're very positive, it can be really hard to enjoy yourself here because there's so much negativity, and there's a lot of people that just do not want to help themselves, or they want someone else to, they want to use your energy. And your focus as well is really important about what you're focusing on, and you've got to get discerning with your social media and what you're looking at, and when you're focusing on, you're gonna in the energy. So be mindful with social media and whatnot, and the people you're surrounding yourself with. Yeah, so as you mature into spirituality and you mature out of something like a New Age spirituality, you really begin to get very strong, wise boundaries. And you are able to discern frequency a lot more easier, and you are able to say no a lot more easier, and you're really able to hear your spirit and your spirit guidance. But sometimes what happens, especially if you haven't done auric building, you can pick up other people's frequency and can sort of trick you into believing that things are negative. So it's very interesting. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Please remember that you can send in some questions, anonymous questions for my live Q&A. Coming up, I think it is the 23rd of October. That's when I put it on, but that could change. My website is now open, and I am very much looking forward to opening services. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that was helpful.